love this time of year because I'm a huge fan of the mid-year freakout tag. I just really enjoy hearing how everyone else's year is going, getting different book recommendations and take all in like one consolidated little video. And since I was going to watch all of these videos, selfishly I thought, why not make content out of it? Which inspired me to make a Book Buddies mid-year freakout tag kind of game to see who has the most similar reading taste to mine. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Bex Reads because she did this at the end of the year in 2024 with the best of, worst of stories. And it inspired me to do my own journey to see whose reading taste is as similar to mine, at least in this year. Here's how the points are gonna work. 1 point if I've ever read from that author before. 2 points if I've ever read the book you mentioned before. 3 points if I've read the book this year, and 4 points if we read the same book and loved it. Obviously, this is just for fun. There are a ton of creators I watch specifically because I like their takes or I like their style of video, and we don't actually have that much bookish overlap. There's also a bunch of creators who I'm gonna have a lot of overlap from because I take their recommendations and read them all the time. And on top of all of that, even though the tag itself has like a limited number of slots, how people fill out those slots varies. Like for my best of, worst of, I think I named a lot of books and not just one book, which gives people more opportunities if they are playing this game to align with my taste. And on top of that, for creators who referenced other videos, I watched those videos too and included their mentions there in this tag too. And lastly, links to all of the channels I watched in the description down below, and that way you can check out what other people are reading in the bookish community too. All of that said, let's tally up these points. Starting with 0 points. These are creators where I might have had a lot of overlap on my TBR and what they actually read, or they just might be creators who I enjoy watching, but we don't have very similar book tastes. It's going to include Meg with Books, The Book Refuge, Keep Calm with Books and Coffee, Bethany Loves Reading, Hannah Reading Realm, The Shanna Eilish Show, Jess Owens, Sharday Searches, Fireside Library, Shelley and the Book Club, Roulette Reads, Peace, Love, Plan, and Reads. Moving us into 1 point, Ray Reads gets a single point because she read Ballad of Songbirds, and I have read Susan Collins before, even if I'm not going to be reading that one. Good Morning Dreamer and Brittany Rose have both read the latest Rachel Gillig, and I've read One Dark Window, so author points there. Peace, Love, and Books and Happily Ever April both have read Carrie Lake this year, and I've read Carrie Lake previously. Victoria Masters and I have overlapped with Ilana Andrews. I read my first story by her this year, Faded Blades, but she's quite popular in the bookish community. And Mariana Guevara gave me a blast from the past by mentioning Terry Pratchett, who I read all through high school and college, and I'm happy to hear is like reintroducing himself to readers even now. Rolling me into 2 points, Sabrina Reads and Roams has read both Alex E. Harrow and Rachel Gillig, which I think is a fun combination. I love Harrow's work. She does an amazing job taking very stereotypical things and transforming them into something unique and different. And Gillig, I think, has great ideas. I'm excited to read a little bit more from her and see if her execution improves. I think in One Dark Window, she does it kind of only at a mid-tier. Leandra reminded me that the Calm Down book tag is a thing, which I am including in this mid-year freakout points tally up and will want to do next year. She also reminded me of a blast from the past with Jurassic Park, which is a phenomenal book maybe I need to reread in the next few years too. Murphy Napier read Rebecca Yarros, but she read the 3rd book in the series where I've only read the first 2, and she's also read Hemingway, and of course I have as well. Reading This Life ironically gets 2 points with John Steinbeck's Grape of Wrath. I say ironically because she did not like the book, and I'm actually a pretty big fan. Rolling us into 3 points. Criminale has read Joyce Carol Oates, Stephen Graham Jones, and Stephen King this year, and I have read them sometime in my life. I am really interested in Joyce Carol Oates' new release, Butcher. It sounds like an amazing time. Gabby Reads and I have overlapped with Anne Rice, Julie Clark, and Nettie Okafor. I'm with her. I really want to read Death of an Author. It sounds amazing. Amy Marie and I only overlap thanks to my project reading all of those Amazon original stories, specifically the different thriller genres. But I have read B.A. Paris, Lewis, Lorth Ann White, and Rachel Housel Hall. Kristen Crave's books and I have overlap with T. Kingfisher, S.T. Gibson, and Christina C. Jones. Two of those authors are amazing, and one of them I like just fine but think is overhyped. I'll leave it to you to guess in the comments down below which is which. Ebony's bookshelf takes me back to classic horror reads like Dracula, and of course modern horror legend Stephen King. Shay's Book Nook and I have the book talk bug. We've both read Carissa Broadbent, specifically Servants of Wings of Night, and Rachel Gillig. Pages and Pastimes read V.E. Schwab, and also picked up Octavia E. Butler's Parable of the Sower. Now she just has to finish the duology to read the best of the books. At 4 points, Rainy Blue reads Stands Alone. We've read popular author Rachel Gillig, Carissa Broadbent, Suzanne Collins, and Lucinda Barry. Moving us into 5 points where I start to see a lot of similarity in what I've ever read and what these bookish influencers read this year. Starting with A Slow Reading Life, who read Chuck Tingle, V.E. Schwab, Alex E. Harrell, Rachel Gillig, and Rebecca Yarros. I guess not all of them can be winners, but it's a pretty stacked lineup. Books like Woe and I have both read Tender as the Flesh, and we share a lot of author overlap with T. Kingfisher, S.T. Gibson, and Ruby Dixon, although she's more up to date on her Ruby Dixon reads than I am. Midnight Scrolls and I have overlap with Suzanne Collins and Stephen Graham Jones, but she got boosted up because she title drops The Unworthy, which would have been on 4 points if she had read it and enjoyed it, but as she only intends to read it, I can only give us 3 points. I really hope she does a standalone review because I love hearing about this book. I just cannot get enough unworthy discourse. JD Ray Reads and I both read and loved Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker this year, and she's read V.E. Schwab and so have I. Shoshana and I both love speculative authors, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Nii Vo, and Nettie Okafor, with both of us loving the hell out of Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, which rolls us into 6 points. Carrie Can Read surprised me by being so high up on this list, as usually I watch her for entertainment more than common books, but I got a point for Cassandra Clare, even though I've only ever read her fan fiction and it was ages ago. Stephen Graham Jones, Toshi Ibuchi, Louis Sakara, who I've also read Holes by, otherwise I wouldn't have even known that author's name, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and Rachel Gillig. Bex Reads makes her appearance on this list with Rachel Gillig, Carrie Lake, Raven Kennedy, title drop of I Married a Naga, which I read years ago but had a lot of fun with, and Jamin Eve. Also shout out because I have never heard of this Jamin Eve title before, and I thought I was pretty much up to date with what she has or hasn't written, even if I haven't read it all. This story ain't overread Octavia E. Butler's Parable of Talents, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Stephen Graham Jones, Suzanne Collins, and Maria Machado's work. Tells of Tales stands alone at 7 points. We've got Suzanne Collins, Tannereve Due, Blake Crouch, Stephen Graham Jones, Dune, and Ray Bradbury. 2 contenders at 8 points. I have Amber Dior. She's got bangers like Parable of the Sower and The Unworthy on her list, but also authors like S.T. Gibson, Tannereve Due, N.K. Jemisin, and Tamsin Muir, as well as some classic works like Anne of Green Gables and Jane Eyre on the list. And Jade Jupiter and I have so many authors in common, starting with S.T. Gibson, Sierra Simone, T. Kingfisher, Tamara Pierce, Tamsin Muir, Alex E. Harrow, and Grady Hendrix. Amanda Donnellan is standing alone at 9 points. Shout out to the Bell Jar and The Great Gatsby. She gets 4 points for Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which I just read this month. And then the last point comes from an author that we have both read, but unfortunately he has come out with a controversy that kind of makes him unsupportable. And I will not be mentioning his name. I respect that she sort of covered some of the issues on her channel, but I think in some ways, for me, silence and just not talking about him on the platform is the better form of valor here. Sitting at 10 points is Gavin Reads It All, which is probably not surprising since he has a ton of books to choose from on his Midyear Freakout tag, but I get points for Suzanne Collins, Stephen King, Rachel Gillig, Carissa Broadbent, and of course he has also read The Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. Jen's Friend stands on her own at 21 points. She would probably be the winner of this challenge if I didn't also count other people's reference videos in their Midyear Freakout tag. But she gets points for Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson that I also read this year, Suzanne Collins Call Out, Becky Chambers, Lee Bardugo, Raven Kennedy, T. Kingfisher, S.T. Gibson, Penn Cole, Carissa Broadbent, Stephen Graham Jones, Grady Hendrix. Another 4 points for Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, and 2 points for Camp Damascus. It's close to 3 points, but I did read that December last year, not this current 2025. And then of course sitting at number 1 as my primary bookish buddy is going to be Heather over at Hia Booktubes, and she has a massive 24 points, which she earned because she referenced several other videos within her mid-year freakout tag, and I counted those books too. But she gets points for Rachel Gillig, We Hunt the Flames, Guild by Raven Kennedy, Trials of Conviction, One Dark Window gets the title drop, and I read that year. Sarah J. Maas, Rhapsodic. I didn't choose to add more points for One Dark Window or for all of the books in the T.A. White series that we've done a readathon for, but they're here. T. Kingfisher, The Queen's Line, A Midwinter Mail Order Bride, which I read because she recommended it, Bark of the Everflame, Fourth Wing, Serpents of the Wings of Night. To be fair, this isn't a great reflection of this year either, because these are a bunch of books that Heather mentions in other videos that she has read in her reading journey as a whole, and not necessarily for just the year of 2025. But I'm still giving it to her right now. We are the most compatible reading buddies. And if you guys liked this, I'd be really curious to do the best of, worst of books of the year and see who was most reading compatible with me for the whole year in review. This has been kind of a fun experimental video. It'd be really helpful to me if you left a crown emoji in those comments down below to let me know you watched all the way to the end. And as always, keep reading.